Hi everyone, so my name is Natalie Jordan and today I am tasked with making a whole bread for the course Applied Science 132. Now the objective of this exercise or this experiment is to be done at home, and let me just show you some of the items that we're working with. We have mixing bowl, we have flour, we have the pan, we have the other necessities them there. So alright, so what I will do here, I will add the sugar and I'll stir it in a little bit into room temperature water, and then I will add the yeast, which is the 1 teaspoon and the 1 tablespoon. I will stir it in. Right, I will leave it a bit and for 5 to 10 minutes, and then I will come back to it. So what happened is the sugar acts as food for the yeast for the fermentation process, making a gas reaction. So here I'm basically going to be adding the salt into the flour, and then I'm going to take this flour and I'm going to sieve it over here into the big mixing bowl to loosen up any particles. So with this process, we're basically removing any particles that may be too thick, such as lumps from the flour. So receiving the salt and the flour together, after which we will take our yeast mixture and the fat that we have, and we will first rub in the fat and then add our mixture. So here I am adding in the fat that I have, which is the 1/4 cup. And in this case, I will be using this wooden spoon to cut the fat into the flour. If you don't have a wooden spoon, you can use a fork or you can use your fingertip, providing that your fingers are clean. So if you look good, you're not going to see the fat because it has already been cut into the flour. See? So what we're going to do, we're now going to go ahead and add in our yeast solution that we have. This is the solution, and we're going to drill the hole and we're going to add it in. Now with this added in, we're going to make sure we have all, and then we're going to take the same spoon and we're going to gently cut it into the flour before we go into the process of kneading the bread, because we will need some additional water in order to have the dough for the bread to pull together. So I would have added a little bit more room temperature water, and I will go ahead with my clean hands and I will knead the dough together. Now if you have more space than I do, you can do this kneading on a floured board instead of in the same pan where you're mixing the dough in. Now you see here the dough is a bit stiff, so I need to add a little bit more of water to it. Now the kneading will develop the gluten network, or we say the protein, giving the dough enough elasticity. So for this 8 to 10 minutes of vigorous kneading is to develop the gluten inside the dough. Now, just now I'll show you a little bit of the elasticity within the dough before I set it for its first rise. For the kneading process, what's going to happen after the gluten is developed? If you look here, when I pull, right, you see it's not tearing. So this shows that it has some form of elasticity. I just knead it back into place and then I leave it to rise for its first rise. So I'll leave it here and I'll cover it for, let's say, about an hour, and then I'll get back to you. I'll place the dough on this board to raise, and this, because I do not have another basin in order to put it in order for it to raise. So I am removing the cloth from off of the thing, and this is what the bread looks like after it first rise. So now I'm going to go ahead and cut it, shape it, and pan it, and I'm going to get back to you. So you see me just remove the thing from there. So now I will try to get the bread here and then give it, I already cut it, and then send it to get its second rising. Good. So what I will do, I will leave this in here, I'll cover it, and then I will allow it to set again for about 30 to 45 minutes for proofing. Yes, that is it. So right now I'm at the process of having the bread into the oven. So what I've done, I would have preheated the oven. And let me show you inside. See, it's hot. And it is at approximately 190 degrees. So I'm gonna interchangeably change the timing. So let me just put the bread dough inside. This is what the bread dough looks like when it's rolled back or when it poofed. See? So I'm putting it inside the oven now to start baking. That is it. We will get back to that. So during this first few minutes of the oven, the yeast will activate, causing a final rise called oven spring. Then the starch will gelatinize and protein coagulates to set the bread structure, right? So in a few minutes I will show you the final product and you'll see. Alright, so this is the finished product out of the oven, whereby I just cut it to show you the texture inside. where it is, see, sponge is steaming. So we can see that with the salt that we would have used, it is going to give the bread some flavor, you know. And we already established that the yeast, that the sugar basically is for food for the yeast in order for it to get to the rising stage. And the butter that we use, or the fat that we use, is basically to add texture, which gives it that soft look. You see this soft look? Yeah, look at it, soft and nice.